I don't really, so first item on the agenda is call to order.
Do we do a roll call? Please? I don't know.
So what do I do now? Sorry.
You can, you don't have to.
Yeah.
So the attendance, we have myself, we have Bill Boudry, Sam Elliott, Paula Thompson, Mike. I forgot your last name, Mike.
McLean,
sorry.
maybe? That's okay.
Richard, we have Tim, we have Harold, Julia, Sam. Who's in the room? I can't quite see everybody in there. I see
Maureen Hickey.
Maureen Hickey and Sarah Fowler.
Maureen.
And me. And McLean. And McLean.
Wow. Okay. What? Matt Lowry. Sorry, Matt. Who's read.ai meeting?
That is that's part of the system. It'll do AI notes of the meeting.
Okay. I was like, oh, I don't know that. I don't know that individual. Okay. So thank you for attending. The first item really on the agenda. So I guess let me start out by saying that after having some thoughts, I think we need to kind of bifurcate the monies that are in the trust right now into the ARPA pieces, the ARPA piece, which is 200,000, and then the rest of the money, which we can kind of deal with later. And the reason is because ARPA's got a time contingency on it. I believe that we have to have, and everybody here, please correct me if I'm wrong. This is what I picked up from the other two meetings, and then some reading that I did, that we have to have an MOU in place by the end of the year. So meaning we have to know what's going to happen with the funds by the end of the year, and they have to be spent the next year. Is that correct?
I can jump in.
Yes, please.
The funds need to be expended by December 31st, 2026.
Okay.
So there's 2 years. The MOU will basically state that the funds need to be spent on any of those housing options that are enumerated in the trust. So we don't have to specify that it goes to rent assistance or it goes to whatever. It can be anything that is encompassed in the trust, in the purpose of the trust.
Okay, which aligns with the,
Right.
getting to the first one, the ARPA restrictions.
Yeah.
So the trust, what the trust is doing already aligns with the ARPA restrictions for what the money can do, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That's what the MOU will say.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
And the real reason for the MOU is to make sure that the money is spent where it was appropriated or where it was obligated is the key words that the Treasury is using. And they want to make sure that the governing body that allocated the ARPA funds, in this case, the town council for Wakefield, doesn't have the ability to pull that money back and use it for another purpose. So that's the real reason for the MOU. But the MOU will enumerate almost verbatim, I should say, not almost, what's in the trust.
Okay, and who's writing that MOU?
I'm writing it with Tom Mullen's assistance.
Okay, great. All right.
Unless you wanted to take over, Gail.
No,
I already have a draft over to Tom Mullen, so
okay, that's fine.
We'll,
no, I just wanted to make sure, like,
yeah.
it wasn't falling
you don't
on
have to
me
do, guys,
or
you
somebody
don't have
here.
to do anything.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure about that. I always like to leave a meeting knowing what I've got to do next, and I didn't know if that was on my agenda or not.
No.
Okay, so I want to just reiterate, and this information is coming from CHAPA, but just for the group, and maybe also for my edification to make sure we're all on the same page, is CHAPA which is a citizen housing and forget the P part of it, fund. Their recommendation is that the ARPA funds, as it relates to housing, can be spent on assistance to households, which is something some of this we've already gone over, but I just want to reiterate it. Assistance to households, which would include assistance with rent, mortgage, utilities, relocation assistance, counseling and legal aid to prevent evictions and homelessness, housing stability services, which is housing counseling, fair housing counseling, case management, outreach, some of it related to COVID. So the affordable rental housing production and preservation, so to provide increased housing, affordable housing rehabilitation projects, expanded home ownership, public housing acquisition funds, supportive housing, counseling and legal aid service, and tenant outreach, all of which align with the Housing Trust's mandate. So whatever we really do from what we're mandated in the trust will satisfy what ARPA says. So one of the things I wanted to have to make sure we have a discussion on, as I said, centralizing at the moment around those ARPA funds, just to make sure that they are going to be spent, is what truly are our options to work with that money, at least within the next 2 years. If Steve's saying that we can spend it, we have 2 years to spend it, we want to make sure that we have, if we choose a project, for example, like an acquisition of a property, that it's something that can be done and we can expend those funds in that 2-year time frame. If anybody here has, worked in development, it can be a very long time from the time you say you want to develop something till even the time you break ground. I mean, that can be, a few years worth of time frame. The other thing to consider is that the ARPA funds really are not going to be, they're not going to be recurring. So once we spend these, we're not going to be able to get any money from ARPA. This is the one and done. So I just had in the agenda, I had a few options that, we should discuss and see what everybody feels about them, the pros and cons. So I'm going to start out with the first one, which is rental assistance. So the discussion around rental assistance is that we provide, which is what RAFT does, the RAFT agreement does, is we can provide regular monthly assistance, or we could do something related to helping somebody with the first and last month's rent. Knowing that if we do rental assistance, it's highly probable that the money will not be returned to the fund. It will be spent. The downside of rental assistance, where you support somebody every month, is 1, they become reliant on that money, and 2, that $200,000 is going to run out eventually, and it can only service so many people. If we do where you help with first and last month's rent, yeah, the money is going to be spent, but they're not relying on it. If we get it back, great. If they move out, we get it back, great. But if we don't, we kind of knew it going in. So what are people's opinions about providing rental assistance? Is that something people are interested in doing, or is that no, that's not what we as a trust want to do?
Like you said, I would be mostly concerned about the money or the funds running out. Like, how do you give rental assistance and then take it away? I feel like that would be really difficult to do. I like the first and last month. A lot of our Section 8 tenants really struggle with moving. A lot of people are prevented from moving because they can't come up with those funds. I think that's a real need in the community. I don't know how people feel. Also, another thing folks struggle with is the security deposit for the electric bill. That could be something else too that people might need help with. just getting, it's very expensive to move.
Could you please do me a favor, and whoever is speaking, state your name, because I can't actually see the individual
Oh,
people.
you can't see me. It's Maureen Hickey. That's all
Thank
right.
you.
Maureen,
Thank you.
Sam.
Just who's in the room, because otherwise it lights up, but I can't see individual faces like a bubble around it.
That's
Thank
okay.
you.
Yep. That would be mine.
I will say,
Anybody else?
this is Steve Mayer. I will say that we do get quite a bit of inquiries at town hall for assistance in first month's security deposit, things like that, that people come in. So that is a common theme around here.
And I don't know if this is something that the trust is able to do, but I almost wonder about putting like a dollar amount on it, like $3,000 or $4,000, like a cap, so that people could either use it, towards their rent or first and last, but it's really clear from the onset how much it is. So we don't have to, provide rental assistance for the next, until the ARPA funds run out, and then not provide them again. It's just a really clear amount of money.
One quick thing to add, some clarification, is that many of the programs that do have rental assistance have a time limit period for when they can be reapplied for. So whether it's a Stop the Gap or utilities or first and last, anything like that, a lot of them have a 6 to 12 month. You can't repeat within it's a running calendar. So it has to be 12 months from your last request.
So Sam, you're saying that, like, if I come in and you give me first and last months, and then I can't knock on the door again if I get booted from the location to ask for first and last month's rent unless it's a year later?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's obviously, you can stipulate it however you want, but there are a number of different programs, I'm sorry, who have a different time limit, when I was looking up the rental assistance specific ones.
Okay. So I think from what we've talked about, there is a need in the community for this. But there would have to be.
Gail,
I'm sorry?
can I ask
Sure.
a question?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I had my hand up there. I don't know if that's how you want to.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't see. I'm
No,
gotta pay
that's okay.
attention.
So I wonder, and I guess this question goes to Steve and Mike. Did the town councilors have something in specific in mind for how this money, I mean, given all the options that you presented to us, quite a few different possibilities. Did the town council have any specific ways in which they had hoped that this money would be spent? Or is that up to this team to decide?
I think this is Mike McLean, Bill. I think that's up to the members of this trust solely. If you go to 7 people, you probably get 7 different opinions at any one time. But, we set this up pretty broadly. It sounds from what Gail was saying that CHAPA is indicating it's a very broad usage of the money. Maybe we want to put a cap on it. Maybe we want to use a 12-month period or a longer period. Or maybe we want to say we've only got a couple $100,000. So we want to do a max of 3,000 and you can only come once.
Okay,
I
well,
mean,
you answered my question. I didn't know if we started to go down the path and you'd have town councilors saying that was not our intention or so forth.
I believe the only thing we have to go to town council for is that, say we wanted to go out and buy a condo unit and make it an SHI unit. For transfers of real estate, I believe we have to get a 2/3 vote, Steve?
2/3 vote of the Board of Trustees and Town Council.
Yeah, of the Board of Trustees and the Town Council. Otherwise, all this is within the purview of this group.
Okay, that's helpful. I appreciate
Right.
that. One other quick question, Gail, if I can.
Mhm.
Just one of the things, what immediately occurs to me is who's going to be responsible, who is responsible for managing the dollars and the accounting of, who gets what, when does it expire? Who, manages, do people pay it back or don't pay it back? Who's responsible for that, Steve?
Well, as far as the accounting is all done through our accounting department. Okay, and in fact, the $200,000 is, the opera funds are all designated separately anyway. So that's already been taken care of in that regard. As far as getting money back, so I would suggest that we come up with an application process that we'll have to give some, again, I think through the accounting after there's approval by the Affordable Housing Trust, that there will be a repository of paperwork that says that Steve Mayo, was given $3,000 for first and last month's rent. He signed out an application. A lot of communities have these applications already. Then it's managed through the accounting department. So I can't come in, I think also what Sam was saying, 6 months later and say, hey, I need more money because I can't make my rent payment. So I think that that's the way it could. Now, Sam may have managed it differently. So go ahead, Sam, jump in.
Just to add on to what you're saying, Steve, the rental assistance, and most of them that I researched, is typically not something that gets paid back. It's effectively like a grant. The down payment assistance programs are typically, they're structured in a variety of different ways, but if they are in a repayment, it's set up as similar to a soft second, or it's a lien that's recorded. It's something that's recorded with the property, so that if they're going through title research, at some point that would come up as something that is required to be paid or reimbursed should somebody sell it or something along those lines.
And Steve, did you say there's sort of already templates for this things based on?
Oh,
other
yeah.
communities
There
doing
are
that?
other communities that have.
Okay, so
Yes.
it's not like there's.
We're not going to reinvent the wheel. No.
Inventing something from scratch. Okay. I mean, it was just conjuring up for me, what's the administration of, burden of that specific example, or any of the other examples, I guess, but. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Gail.
Mhm. Any other questions on the rental assistance? Thoughts? Anybody? All right, to move forward, what Sam was also alluding to was the ability to do a down payment, where we help a family with a down payment on their home, or we are closing costs or something. This had come up, I think, in the first or second meeting that we had. I'll tell you what my con is on that one. The pro is that we can do it like a soft second, that if they refinance or they sell the home, that money could come back to us. Even if there's no interest, at least the principal would come back. The downside of this is I believe that the money would have to be, the people would have to live in Wakefield. Now, just doing a Zillow search, this is not, I haven't done all the, details, but the average home price in Wakefield now is $700,000. The lowest price I've seen is $575,000. To help people, I believe there's restrictions based on AMI. So if we just look at two people, a couple asking for some assistance at even the 100% income limit, which is $130,000 a year for two people, based on the current interest rates, fees, things like that, that would mean that couple would have to spend almost 50% of their take-home pay in housing. And obviously that's at 100%. As they start to go lower, the 50% AMI number is $65,000 for two people. $65,000 is not going to, even with our help, buy you a home in Wakefield, in my opinion. What are anybody else's thoughts about that?
One quick thing to add, Gail. So many of the programs out there for first-time homebuyers, whether or not all of the other trust members know this, have a 3.5% down payment. Even at that number, going off of what Gail's talking about, you're still only looking at a price that may or may not be realistic for the area, especially, at least not in my experience with having bought a house in this last chaos season of selling. One thing to keep in mind that you could do is that it is a matching grant. So if you're offering $5,000 or $10,000 towards a down payment, they would have to have an additional $5,000 to $10,000 so that they would then end up with 10 to 20 or whatever the number is that you'd want to do. Just something else to food for thought.
But Sam, can you confirm my thoughts that there would be the people that we're giving it to have to be in the affordable housing range of people, right?
Yeah, so it's from
Like
what
the
I
AMI.
saw, yeah, it's 80 to 100% AMI typically. And a lot of other municipalities that were doing these down payment assistance programs stopped effectively because of what you're talking about. It's just not realistic. As I had mentioned before, Cambridge had a program where it was only for the affordable units that are for sale. So if you're buying an affordable unit, there's an affordable unit down payment program that will match. I don't remember if it's a match or a grant, exactly how they set it up. But if you're buying one of our affordable units, then you can utilize this program. Otherwise, it can't be utilized because I'm sure everybody's aware the prices are astronomical there. So they had kind of come up with a different way to maintain their down payment assistance program, but meet whatever the kind of meet what current market conditions are, and just effectively focusing them only on their affordable units.
Sam, this is Mike. I wonder about how big our population would be there. I would guess that most of the vast majority or the majority of our SHI are rentals. Just wondering how many we would even have. So if we had such a program, it would have a limited application because there's only so many SHI units that are owned that are bought and sold.
Correct. And it doesn't obviously, you do have a timeline on this money. So whether or not somebody proposed a ownership, affordable housing development down the line, it may or may not be finished in time. So something you may have to focus on is trying to keep all of those different little moving parts in mind if this is something you want to move forward. But like I said, there are ways to do it creatively if it's still something you want to do. There are just a variety of different ways to deal with it in the current state of affordability of purchasing.
So I have a question. Of the units that do come online, do people have issues trying to get down payments to move into those, or do they pretty much seamlessly coming up with the money and moving into those units?
I don't know. I will happy to check, but I would have to do some research on that to get back to you. I haven't had to deal with one in the time that I've been here, so I'll look. Like I said, if you would like me to, I'm happy to. Just let me know.
Well, I'm just kind of curious. So if someone is looking for assistance, who would they come to, and how would that information be gathered, and how will we know that? Let's put it that way. I guess it's something for you, Steve. Someone would come to the town hall.
I guess well, now that we have a mechanism to help them, they would come to our office or through Sam in the planning office, and it would be the AHT that would decide. We will be rolling out programs. If
they were buying one of our affordable units.
If you're buying well, they're not our affordable units. Remember, they're private. So the state does have a broker that they seem to use for everything.
Okay.
And so we could let him know, like, for instance, there's 23 affordable units at Heron Pond that are all occasionally will come up for sale. And they do come because the town has to, agree that they vet everybody at EOHLC. They'll send us, hey, there's another affordable buyer in here, and they've already vetted them, stays in our affordable inventory. And then, we know that it's happened, and we get a new designation, a new person. So we could reach out once the AHT decides, we can reach out to EOHLC, try saying all those letters, and let
HLC is the short, HLC.
HLC and let them know that, hey, we have this program because you're the one who's dealing with them all. So that's probably the way to do it. Because everyone comes through their office.
That makes some sense. And just I guess a point from the disability perspective, or the Commission on Disabilities, is that because people who are on Social Security for a whole bunch of different reasons can't save more than $2,000, they might not have necessarily the income to pay the mortgage. But I'm just thinking that could be like another area in which we could help if we did the down payments. But I also agree that it seems very complicated, and might not be the best.
Well, as I said, I think that Sam was, her point about trying to ensure that over the 2-year period, we would, if we designated it only for the purchase of affordable units in Wakefield, it could be in 2 years, none would come up.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
As I said, you could have someone that wanted to buy just a market rate house, and we could help them if they were within this, the income limits. How they would get the rest of the down payment, I mean, quite honestly, there's a lot of, I will speak for like even my children. One of my kids and his girlfriend don't reach that 80% AMI number. But would their parents help them out with a down payment? Yes. And if they could get other subsidy money, that would be even better. So there could be that, that out there where people knew that, there was a possibility to get some money they could, but it would, like I said, the math, what I found was the math would just be very difficult for somebody within the 80 to 100 AMI range to afford the least expensive piece of property that's in Wakefield. So there's a couple of negatives on the down payment piece of this, trying to do it as a home ownership allowance or assistance, if you will. Okay, so another option is affordable rental housing production and preservation. So this is where we can, if we have a unit that was going to be turned into market rate, we could possibly swoop in and say, nope, we'll provide some money and we want to make it stay affordable. It's a great idea. I think that definitely the trust in general, hopefully that these monies will be spent on either preservation of affordable housing, rehabilitation of affordable housing, acquisition of affordable housing, any one of those three. I hope that that's something that we do consider. Whether or not we want to consider it for the 200,000 is, like I said, if you started right now to do a development, let's just say the Herd School, I'm not advocating for it, I'm just saying if we started it now, it could be 2 years before like it could get anywhere, to get credits, to get, funding for the state, to get all the approvals, to get all the pieces together. Would that hinder us in meeting the 2006 requirements for the ARPA funds specifically? Does anybody have any opinions about, as I said, the housing stock that we are somehow involved with, acquiring or supporting developers that want to turn something into an affordable housing, 100% affordable housing?
Well, there is a deed rider on probably have about 120 plus ownership units in Wakefield, just doing a quick scan of the SHI. Those cannot, they're deed riders on those, they cannot be sold at market rate without the town signing off on it. So those will come to us, and that is an opportunity for us to purchase that A unit, let's say at Heron Pond, and I forget what they're going for, but I think they're a great price as affordables. That would be, if, in case they don't get anybody, then we could remarket it. So I think that's certainly a case. Something the money could be used for.
Gail, this is Mike. I think this follows up on Matt's question from, a few minutes ago. We have had a couple of units, we had one off of Parker sell not too long ago. I think my feeling is that these lower cost units haven't really had a problem. We got 760,000 in this trust from something that happened long ago. But we really haven't had much of an issue with the existing affordable units
10 years.
in 10 years, being conveyed at a lower price. People are jumping on that. This Chopper Group or whoever it is marketing them. It's publicized and it seems to be going pretty well. So I don't know that that's an area that we would be needed, I guess is my thought.
Hey,
So
and I would-
to make sure I'm clear, if what you're saying is there isn't really a need of affordable housing preservation in Wakefield at the time. Okay,
That's only my opinion.
but it's always available. We're gonna know when it happens.
right.
I just have to say, having been a parent of 3 kids that have bought houses, I would have loved to have someone else help out other than my wife and I. So if there could be another subsidy, that would have been fabulous. And I would say at least 2 of them were probably within that, because what's the area around here? What's the AMI around here, Sam? It's like 90,000 for a couple
No,
of
the
2?
AMI, the 100% income limit is for 2 people is 130,000.
Yeah, so yeah,
It's around, I believe it's around 81,000
for
for
a
one.
single, for one, yeah.
Steve, this is not intended for children whose parents are multimillionaires.
That's not me, so Boudry. I wish.
So let's table for a moment the preservation part. The next thing would be either the acquisition of property or the support of a developer willing to turn property into 100% affordable housing. So we talked about the prospect of, Herd School, flipping that into affordable, or I believe there might be, correct me if I'm wrong, but like some additional space up at the Harts Hill that could be developed. I don't
Yeah,
quite
there
know
is,
exactly
yeah.
how that
I'm not
works.
sure. There is some land up there. I don't know how big it is. I'll have to dig it out.
Well, I had actually, sorry, this is Sarah. I had asked Bob Vincent about that because he had mentioned that to me several months ago in a housing authority meeting, and he directed me to you.
Gee, thanks, Bob.
So, but my understanding was that there was even an intent at one point to do a second Heights
Yeah,
building,
yeah.
and I don't know what.
Well, HUD's
That's
not really
more,
funding
The
or
first one was done with the HUD loan, so it
Yeah.
was, yeah.
I don't think the HUD's doing 202s, not that I know of right now. But that was certainly a nice building. I mean, I think we have all of the other funds too, other than the ARPA funds. This is Maureen. So I think that we should be looking at this option, but maybe not for the ARPA funds, for like the immediate. Because that we do need more affordable units in town. However we get them, I don't know, but.
Yeah, Mike, this is Mike. I'm sorry, is somebody else speaking?
Affordable housing.
iPad.
Okay. Whoever's on that, if you could mute yourself in the yellow shirt, please. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, Gail, I'm of the opinion, having been up to Hurt a couple of times, that may just be too big of a project for the housing trust. That's my own thought. I thought we might have more of a possibility over at Butler Ave, but, we really need to know when that project would occur and whether anything we might put into it, if the trust wanted to put money into it, whether that would happen by the deadline. Well, it wouldn't be for the ARPA deadline, right, Steve? So,
No, probably not.
yeah, it wouldn't be the ARPA deadline.
Well, I don't know, 2026, it could be. You could have a contract signed by then.
Yeah,
And I might argue that that's enough.
I just think that these are items to be pursued, and possibly even if the market prices weren't so high, I might be an advocate to buy a condominium unit and turn it into an SHI. But you've already identified how the cheapest property for sale in Wakefield, which is a condo unit, is over 500 now. I just keep coming back to the fact that we don't have a source to replenish these funds. We have 960 plus or minus, and when that's gone, it's gone. So I think we have to be careful in terms of, what project makes sense for us to get involved in.
So on that note, I mean, we do have, as it relates to, so wait, let me just stick with the whole ARPA thing. So once again, to reiterate, whatever we do will fit within the restrictions. The money needs to be spent by 2006. It
26.
looks like 2026, sorry.
Yeah.
Got 20 years off of my life there. 2026, it doesn't look like there's any issue with us having an MOU or whatever in place by the end of the year. So now the deadline is 2026. It looks like there would be it would be very tight for us to be able to do something as it relates to buying, preserving. Preserving is probably not needed, but acquiring something that would add to the SHI units and to, support a developer that is willing to develop 100% affordable in town. So that kind of what circles back to me, unless there's the question is, are there other options that anybody wants to put to the table of what we could do with the ARPA funds specifically? Or does it look like the rental assistance would be the better path to take at this time for specifically the ARPA funds?
I think that's the best plan. I mean, I think that we could definitely help some people sooner rather than later with the rental assistance, first and last month's deposits and stuff. I feel like we could help people right away with that. Now, do we take a vote, this committee, how we move forward? How are we deciding? Steve, is there any
Yeah, I don't
particular
know.
way?
Committee could take a vote, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it'd be nice if we had a firm plan, maybe Samantha could bring back.
Some of the
I
paper.
don't want to just put it on
Yeah.
you, Samantha, but maybe we could have a plan to do that kind of rental assistance and
I am
instead of
really
just
sorry.
voting without
Could you repeat that? There's literally a commuter rail train that goes like right in front of where I'm staying, and I could not hear what you said with the volume turned all the way up. So if you could repeat what you would like me to do, I'm happy to make notes and get to work on that. So just say that again, please.
Well, I don't want to speak for the group, but I think it might make sense for us to actually have a plan to vote on, maybe at our next meeting. Relative to what we're going to do. Is it going to be first, last? Is it going to be first in security? Is it going to be capped? Is it going to be a certain amount? Is it going to be one time only? Is it going to involve electric? Because Maureen was also mentioning the electric. Is that a fair size fee that people have to come up with?
I think it's right now, last I heard was $400 for a 1-bedroom unit.
Really?
Security deposit for
Wow.
the lights.
400 for the light
I
deposit?
think so, for a 1-bedroom. I didn't realize that.
So maybe we could, put a money amount on it and say this is to be used. I'm not trying to steer this, but this is an amount that you can use on first, last security and or electric and just come up with a set amount that'll be a one-time amount. Because I think we're focusing, I don't want to speak for the group, but I think we're focusing first on that 200 in ARPA.
Right.
Getting that going.
Yes, that's what I was
Yeah.
hoping to accomplish in this meeting, was to ensure that the trust is, that we could be on the same page with what to do with the ARPA funds in particular. So we can, limit this to the 200,000. Once it's spent, the program may or may not continue. I'm going to say it like that. We could say, no, this is working really well. We can put other monies to it, the other 500,000 to it, or we might say, nope, it's 200. Once that's spent, it's spent. In the meantime, as I said, what we can do is, I think, have Sam bring us to the next meeting how we could structure this, debate that, come up with if that's what we want to do, and then at least say that's what we're going to do with the 200. It doesn't preclude us from having ideas and looking at options for the other monies, and or working with CHAPA or the other housing bodies in Massachusetts. I mean, I think, they just passed the Affordable Homes Act. I think the number I have in front of me for the final amount was $196 million that has been allocated to the state to various programs, where we could, get some of that money to assist if we had a project in mind. For example, of either starting to buy some units, and doing that, we could go after potentially more money, but depends if we want to.
I'm not so sure that passed both the House and the Senate yet, but possible.
It hasn't passed yet. There was an amendment made on the 5th of June, and that's the most recent update.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm sorry, I have a question about ARPA funds. So if they were spent for a security deposit and then 2 years later it was paid back, is that still considered ARPA money, or would that come back into a different account? How does that work?
What I have read in the Treasury regulations that are like this high, is that income payments like that would flow back into program income. So if we got that back 2, 3, 4 years later, I think it would roll back in and become regular trust fund money. That's a good thing, but you're probably not going to get a lot of it back on rent.
And that's my other thing. How many security deposits are forfeited? Is it a high percentage, or do you get them back?
If you're a landlord dumb enough to get a security deposit, because I told mine never to, because the laws were crazy with it, you're going to get whacked. But these big companies will do it. I would say not too many in the units that I'm thinking of. But who knows? You don't know what the tenant's going to be like, right? You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I assume
first and last, is going to be gone.
Yeah.
A quick question. Does anybody know if any of the developments around here are stipulated to be required to put it into a interest-bearing account or anything, these security deposits?
Mass state law requires that.
Okay, because it was hit or miss in Florida. That's why I'm asking, because if
And a
money
separate
does come
one
back.
technically for each unit, for each person. Yeah, that's why
okay.
it doesn't.
Yeah, we have a book this big of,
Yeah,
everyone has a little sub
you're
account,
supposed to send them the interest
Yeah.
every year.
right?
Yeah.
Pennies,
For simplicity, we might just want to do a grant program.
Yeah,
right?
how you use it. Yeah.
Mhm. Right. But that would be, this is Maureen, Sam, so it would be a good idea for us to be able to, or for me at least, to be able to see like how someone else runs their program, what their application looks like. And like Steve said, we don't need to recreate this. It's already out there. We just need to find, a few samples
Oh, yeah.
and fit it
There's
into
a-
Wakefield.
there are a number of them that exist, both on state and local and regional levels, or I should say all the different tiers. So that should not be, I mean, it's actually not a problem. I already have a number of different things that are
Yeah.
saved. Both the criteria and applications themselves to be able to kind of cobble something together rather than reinventing the wheel. So that is not a problem at all.
So Sam, this is Mike. Maybe we could circulate something before the next meeting individually to the members and we could just comment if we have any comments.
Yeah, I'm happy to work on getting that together. Probably beginning of next week or so. But would like to give you at least a week before whenever we schedule the next hearing and or the next meeting, and hopefully we'll be able to do that at this meeting versus me trying to do it over email with everybody.
Sounds good to me.
So the other thing that I just want to plant the seed for is, and I don't know, I might be out of turn here, but is the town considering those, as I said, people have brought up the Herd School, Butler, and Hards Hill for SHI units are 100% affordable. Is the town leaning toward that? Would there be is there a process where the town could start going down the path just to reach out to abutters, to put an RFI out there to see if anybody would be interested in doing 100% affordable on those, or if there's any other places in the town that we might be willing to provide property for. Like I said, we don't necessarily have to give them the property. We can do it as a land lease. And then maybe give them some soft financing. Is there any thoughts on that?
You go.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna go ahead and then
Steve will start.
I'll start and then Mike. On Herd School, absolutely yes. We did talk about doing some outreach in the neighborhood. And then going forward with getting some, going out for RFI or an RFP on that, based on what the neighborhoods, what we came up with and what the town council wanted to do. Remember that would have to go to town meeting and get a 2/3 vote to sell the property or do a land lease eventually. On Butler Ave, we will need to, and we've been talking a lot about Butler Ave, we will need to have the contaminated area completely designated, and we're working through that process with the DEP. And we're actually looking at some interesting designs for some affordable in the kind of the upland, non-contaminated area that we've asked our town engineer to at least do some sketching there. And we'll also bring out we'll also bring out some of our, I'll say our developer friends to get some input from them, but certainly not giving them an inside track.
I think, this is Mike. I think I would love to I'd love to be able to, have us participate and have outreach and have the town do 100% affordable at the Herd, but I just don't see the numbers working. That's the biggest problem there. I think on Butler, if we can get the remediation done, that might be a project from the ground up that, to me anyway, might make a little more sense to get involved in. But this is all early stage thought process.
Is there anything that the Housing Trust can do or should do to, I don't want to say push this forward, but to, what can we do to try to make it happen for 100% affordable and at least for one of those properties or any other property in town? Because I'm going to selfishly say that I would love to have a 100% affordable development in town instead of the 40Bs where you get, maybe 18% of the units.
Can I make a suggestion? This is Harold. How are you?
Harold, excellent. I'm glad you're chiming in, the developer.
I would say on the herd school, on the affordable side, if we're trying to go 100%, there's certainly always some upfront costs that you face as a developer, whether that is you know, coming up with a survey of the property, trying to come up with the adequate number of parking for the number of units, architectural designs, engineering, some upfront costs that if we were trying to help any developer that was trying to make it affordable 100%, some of those funds being allocated towards covering that cost, that would be helpful. So that's just one small suggestion there. 100% affordable is a dream. Sometimes it's very hard. I probably wouldn't mind seeing mix affordable and market rate. So that's it.
So, is there anything else that we can or should be doing to support?
From a development standpoint, I would say I mean, obviously the town is on board. If going through planning or ZBA is going to be a requirement for the number of units, I mean, the alignment with the building department, fire department, those sort of things, after doing all of the conversations with the neighbors and the community, after the buy-in is there, then I would say having that alignment between the town and whoever the developer is, it just makes it helpful and streamlines the process, right? I've gone to some communities where it's very hard to actually get work done. You spend a lot of upfront costs and you never want to go back there to do anything. So making that a smooth and easy process in Wakefield, I think would be nice and probably attract more people that want to do 100% or mixed use. That's it from my end.
Any other thoughts?
One thing to add, this is something that, not to segue to something else on the agenda, but this is something that could be discussed as part of the housing production plan, whether or not that's something that you really want to put forward, and then what are some different ideas on how to get that project moving. And as we get there, I don't want to take up that part of the agenda up here, but or try to move anything. But it is something that you could push or request as part of the process of the actual plan.
I'm sorry, the housing plan that did you settle on anybody for doing it?
I can talk about it a little later. Like I said, I don't want to jump too far out of order.
Okay.
But trying to get some components of that off of the ground, to get some of the ideas, and then we could potentially, even on a town side, or with the trust's funds, hire a consultant for some components of that, look at some of the funding ideas, that kind of stuff. Those kind of different items that could be done on the back end to help keep the project moving forward. And depending on how it would be structured, who would be the end user, I'm sure you're familiar with all of this stuff, that would really be impacting what is available for that particular project. But there are consultants too that also help with getting all of the funding and getting all of these things sorted, so that you could present this whole package to a developer and say, here, now we want you to do this. So. Very good.
So I probably wasn't really good about following the agenda, but we have covered, the ARPA funds. I think, once again, and reiterate, we're going to move in the direction of, rental assistance for those funds, and Sam's going to assist with, at the next meeting, present how we can move forward with that. That we're going to, it looks like, everyone's on board with the ability for us to support in some capacity an affordable housing project somewhere in Wakefield in some capacity. As Sam said, that we can which is, it says that, that's the 500,000 is a different number. We can wait and see what happened with the housing needs assessment after that comes out, and what we can do to support what comes across with that. I know, I'm sorry, when is so Sam, you've given me, you gave us the total of the SHI units that are in Wakefield.
Yes.
Do we have anything? Okay, so since the last census, do we have any idea of the number of additional, not SHI, just additional units, like what the denominator, is that right? Yeah, think of my math. What the denominator is now?
You mean how it would be increased?
Yes.
So they continue to utilize the 2020 numbers until 2030 comes out, as far as the state has put information out for the housing production plan. The goal is to increase by 0.5 to 1%, so somewhere in that range every single year, so year over year. So you're adding anywhere from about 50 to 100 units every single year to keep that SHI moving forward and moving towards the target. Just as a side note, the SHI list that you have does not include projects that are permitted. Once those permitted projects are completely built, we will hit our 10% threshold based on Census 2020 numbers. But however, obviously, the housing production plan is 5 years. It should be done in 2025. So it'll carry us over to the next census. When the next census comes out in 2030 or is done in 2030, then the numbers are going to be different at that point. So then we will need to likely adjust. But the goal right now for us moving toward that 10% number and hitting the threshold for the state would be to create 50 to 100 units every single year.
And
is that helpful?
Once again, of SHI unit.
Yes.
How have we been doing on that?
I don't know the exact numbers for all previous years, but we are making good progress, especially with the existing permitted projects that are set to be done. I don't know the exact timeline of it, but like I said, we're looking at hitting the 10% number, which is more than a 1% increase over where we are currently, because we're at 8.89, and once we get up over 10%, I mean, I'm not the best math person, but it does put us over the 10%. So like I said, it's more than that 1% increase, which is the goal. And the 1 or 10%, the 0.5 to 1% increase is based off of the overall number of required units. It doesn't increase as you have more units, if that makes sense. So, and it won't increase until the census increase, and then that's when our overall number changes.
Right. So what you're saying is based on the current number, that the 2020 census is the denominator on this. We will get to the 10% with that same denominator. But it's probable or possible that in 2030, we're going to be back below the 10% because of the number of total units that are coming on board in Wakefield.
Yes and no. The goal is to have that, like I said, that 0.5 to 1% increase year over year, so that you are continuing to work over your 10%, so that you won't have, but it is possible, so that you won't have a huge gap.
So what my question is maybe this will come from the housing needs assessment. Will we know at the end of the housing needs assessment what we believe potentially the 2030 census number would be with all of the construction that's gone on since 2020?
They'll be able to do a projected number, but the projections are just projections. They're not going to be a hard and fast number. They'll help to give us an idea, and it can also, I mean, the document is not set in stone right now. The RFP was written pretty open-ended, but with the strong intent that our goals are very clear and actionable, not just these, fluffy terms that aren't really helpful and that we can't act on. So if we're really looking to try to get ahead, we can make that a point as I continue, or I can, at least as I'm starting to work with the consultant and we start to move forward on that, starting really next month, end of this month, and into the rest of this year, that we want to try to figure out how to keep moving forward and get close to being at our 10% number. Obviously, we want to be able to supply Wakefield with enough affordable housing and attainable housing. One thing to kind of keep in mind is that, you know, it will be a moving target, no matter how you look at it. So as we continue to have more projects, or we have the ability to push for a full affordable housing project, that's something that the trust has the ability to help support in the future.
Gail, this is Mike. I think your question was, how many have we added? Correct me if I'm wrong, but we have added, we already know certain numbers. We know how many units we've added to that denominator, you know, through today, for example, from 2020 to 2024. And we all know we've had a massive amount of growth, so it's a significant number. Sure, somebody can project to 2030, but I have a very legitimate fear that we're not going to be at 10% as of 2031, because that denominator is going to grow significantly.
Right, that's what I'm asking. Right now, in the 4 years, what is the denominator?
Right. How many units have we actually added since the last census, which was 11,000, what, Steve, 11,000?
11,261.
11,261 is a
Yeah.
2020 number, and now we know we have more. Do we know how many more we have, Steve?
No, but I can find that number for you, I think. Victor can.
Okay, so that way we would know right now that we're not at 8.6%. We could be a lot lower.
We are lower.
Right.
Yeah.
But
What is the
you took
number
like,
lower?
let's take 200 Corner Power, for instance, which is not on our SHI yet,
Right,
because it's not. But of that, 79 units are, or I'll use this number, 79 are affordable
Mhm.
out of a total of 440.
Right.
So remember, our denominator is not going to change. We're going to add 79 to the numerator, but when those 440 pop into our census in 2030, we're going to not be as good as we thought.
right, that's what I'm trying to,
Yeah, you're
trying to-
exactly right.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
hone in on that number. Like, I'm
Yeah.
trying to hone in right now on 2024, if we added all the units that we've brought online, and we have this list that says we're at 1,000, whatever, 1,000 SHI, what's our percentage today? I know that the state, you know, that's not what they're, but we have to be looking at that, because that's going to, that's the math we need to do, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe I'm out of line, but it's like, that's the math we need to do to say, to push a project forward that says, hey, if we bring 100 units of 100% affordable on, even in 2030, we're going to make our nut. We got it right here.
Right. That's why right. That's why, this is Steve. That's why a project like the one on Salem Street behind Dunkin' Donuts, which is going to be a friendly 40B, working with the town council, all rental, that's going to add, at this point, 24 units. They will all count. So that's a great one, right? 24 more units, 24 will all count, 100% as far as the SHI is concerned. So that's why projects like this, where we partner in, all will be friendly 40Bs, I think. I do the Hurd School as a friendly 40B, solves a lot of problems. I would do the probably Butler Ave as a friendly 40B. Again, that's going to add the same number to both. That's a good, both sides. That's a good part of the equation.
Yes, that's what
we can do it.
that's what I'm trying to hone in
Right.
on is I would like to see some actual real decent numbers, because I mean, we've just pulled so much online, not just about the Quantapalo Parkway, but all the Grayson stuff that we've built, all the building that's going up on North Ave. I don't know when those happened and when they're filling all the Tarrant. Oh my God, the Tarrant Lane stuff is just crazy huge. I don't know what percentage of
Tarrant
that
Lane is 173 units, all rental, all on our SHI.
And how many total?
That is a.
Oh, that's all.
That's all of
That's
them.
100%.
That's 100%, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why it's some of these friendly 40Bs or the 40Bs that we do approve are good because they are 100% of the units. All the units count to the SHI.
And that's where the rentals help us more than the homeownership.
Yeah, I mean, we also get some added units when we do a development down in Foundry Street.
Yeah.
But that's a snail's pace catching up. Because if you're getting 18% instead of 100%, you know, yeah, you're getting a few extra units, but it's not changing the dynamics all that much.
I'm
What
sorry,
really-
so Steve, the Tarrant Lane, that's 100, all those units are 100% affordable?
I believe, am I wrong? 173 to our SHI are there. How many are there?
They're not all affordable.
Yeah, but they all count.
They count.
They all
Right,
count. They're not all affordable, but they all count.
Oh,
Because it's a
okay.
rental. Because it's a rental.
So they all count toward our
Yeah.
Right,
Right, because it's a
Okay.
rental. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's kind of what I was looking for.
Yeah.
As I said, I can't, I don't know the difference between, is it just adding to the numerator or is it,
Right.
you know, or to the denominator, is it adding to the numerator? We should have an idea now based on all of, that's what I was asking.
Yeah,
If-
we do have that between our internal number and what's here, but we don't know, there's things we don't know, like on this, our 5 single-family homes, we're not gonna know if
Oh, no,
something.
I
you
know,
know,
but
yeah.
I mean, that's probably the least of our concerns, adding 5,
Yeah.
5 family homes. It's
We
these,
can get you close on that.
we've
right now.
got major,
Yeah.
big construction going on,
Yeah.
like North Ave, between North Ave and Quantipawa Parkway. I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
We
coming
know
up.
those numbers on North Ave.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Quantipawa Parkway.
All right.
And Broadway, we know those numbers.
All right.
We know the
Yeah,
numbers at
if
Main
we
Street.
could get
Yeah.
something, just so we know what our bogey is that we need to try to hit if we want to maintain 10% at 2030.
Okay, and I can also, like I said, talk to the consultants and have that be, because they can look a little bit more at the hard data and the projections, and we can get, at least we should be able to get some sort of an estimate of what that will look like.
Okay, great. Okay, so we've been through, I think we've gotten through the agenda, even if it's not in the right order. We're, as I said, we're gonna look toward the rental assistance for the ARPA funds. I mean, that's the whole thing. We got a bunch of stuff coming online that's affordable. So, I mean, if we can help some of those people get into whatever Tarrant Lane on first and last month's rent, that'd be great, right? Will, they said, you know, we'll keep in mind, you know, for us to bring up if anybody knows of, you know, things that come online for the acquisition of real property that we can create an HSI unit. I think that's going to be one of those things where we're just going to find out and then we'll bring it to the group and say, hey, do we want to participate in this? And we'll go from there. We just went through item 9, the HSI update. So I think we're at number 10 now. Any other comments? Does anybody want to add anything? Nobody? Okay, so the next meeting date. I'm gonna look to Sam for a minute because I don't want to. You're going to be the next. What you know, you got some work to do for us, so I don't want to. You know, I want to give you some time to do that. But the next meeting will probably be focused on rental assistance for the ARPA funds.
Yeah, hold on, let me make sure I'm following along with everything. I just want to double check that I've made notes on everything. The one thing we didn't talk about, there's item 9, the MNRHSO.
Okay.
And I want to just ask if we can circle back on that. So there are a number of towns in our area. Reading's, I think, is the one who heads it up. They have a consultant that all of these towns in the Metro North area, that's what the M and the N stand for, who helps with managing the SHI and managing all of the affordable housing paperwork, essentially, that you have to follow up with these different companies. We've been trying to do it ourselves, and it's been a lot to try to keep up with. But we have the capability of joining in, of paying into this pot of this with the consultant that, like I said, this group of towns, this region works with, and it's $15,000. But they said that they've never actually spent the full money, but it would cover us to be able to make sure that our units are being properly managed, that they're staying on the SHI, that they're going to affordable, and keep up with all of that. And so that was something that we had talked about coming forward with, asking if you want to utilize a portion of your funds to help support us being able to join the, I can tell you the long name of it, hold on. The Metro North Regional Housing Services Office. And currently it's Woburn, North Reading, Reading, Saugus, and Wilmington that are a part of it. And I believe Stoneham is talking about joining it in this next go round.
So what's the cost of that?
It's $15,000. And so every town adds into it, and they have a consultant. It's $15,000 per year. And they have use of the consultant to help manage their SHI.
So that could be on the, so are we thinking that's on the table for the ARPA funds or for just all the funds in general?
I would have to double check if ARPA can be, if that could be utilized for ARPA. Steve, I don't know if you know.
Absolutely, yep.
Okay.
I would suggest anything we do, we use ARPA funds first.
Okay.
I make a motion that we use $15,000 to join the MNRHSO.
Could you tell me who just made that motion, please?
Maureen Hickey.
Thanks.
I'll second that. Sarah?
So moved to use 15,000 of the ARPA funds for the MNRHSO.
We have to call a vote.
Oh, sorry. I guess people have to vote
Are
on
we
it.
gonna have
a discussion.
discussions?
We can
Do
have a
want
discussion.
discussions? Yeah. From a discussion standpoint, this is Mike. I'm only concerned because this is a recurring cost. And I don't know how long the trust is going to be funded.
That was my thought too.
So once you join, you don't have to renew the following year. So if we find out that it's not working, or we have the capability to, I don't know, restructure some stuff, or we end up with another planner or something, it, in theory, yes, could be a recurring cost, but we don't know that it will be, if that makes sense.
So what is the benefit that we will be getting from this? If you could elaborate on that?
Sure, hold on. I need to catch up with my minutes for just a second. So they're rewriting the RFP. So the scope of what the benefits are will be slightly changing. But right now they've been working with one to help, like I said, manage their SHI. Let me see if I can get the agenda pulled up. I had asked for kind of a summary, but I didn't hear back today from them. But it's regional, and Erin is the one who has, I feel like, more information because she had been talking to them about it for a while. Let me see.
Back next meeting.
Mhm.
For info.
You do that.
Okay.
We table
Yeah, why don't we table it till the next meeting, and then you can
That's
bring it
fine.
back, Sam?
Yeah, sure. I was hoping I would hear back from them on a more detailed note, but I haven't. So yeah, I will. I'm happy to get more information.
Yeah, could it be possible to get that information before our next meeting, just so we can review it?
Yep,
I'm a
yep.
little uncomfortable to vote on funds and not know too much about it.
Yep, not a problem.
We vote on table in year.
You can just withdraw it. No.
Oh, I'll
Yeah.
withdraw my motion.
Withdraw your
That's
second.
Maureen.
I withdraw my second. We're aligned.
Maybe we can find out, Sam, how the other towns fund it too. If Erin
Yeah.
has that information.
Sure.
Reading has a housing trust. I know that. I
Yeah.
don't know if they have any money.
Yeah, I know that a number of them are done through the
Wilmington
housing.
doesn't have
Trust,
any
but
money.
as aware that, sorry if you can hear the train. The a number of the other towns have utilized housing trust funds, but as to where those funds come from specifically, I don't know. Is that what you're asking, like within their housing trust funds, where they come from, or is
No,
from the
like,
housing
to
trust
join
information?
this consultant group, where, how are they funding it? You know, through the town budget or through their housing trust?
Okay.
Curious.
Okay, not a problem. I will work on getting that to you before the meeting, the same as the rental draft information, the rental support.
Okay, so, oh wait, are we, I'm sorry that I'm not very good at this stuff. I've never been a chair of anything before. So the next meeting date, let's try to get that on the agenda, but I want to give Sam enough time to do the pieces that she needs as it relates to, rental assistance and what we could do. Do we want to try to do something in 2 weeks, the week of the 22nd, or maybe the week of the 29th?
I would love if we could do something the week of the 29th instead. I'm moving on the week of the 22nd.
Okay, what of that week, including August, works for you?
Yes, anytime from the 29th. There are, let's see here, nothing that I have currently that would block anything. So whatever works best for the trust.
How does everybody feel about Monday, the 29th?
Good. And
Okay, do we have to motion something?
Town
or-
meeting, is there a town council meeting?
We have a council meeting for you.
I certainly hope not.
We only have one in July, and that's the 15th.
That's the 15th.
Oh, okay.
So we're good.
Now you can say you can't, because you have
You
this
can't,
meeting.
Mike, you can't.
I'm sorry. Okay, so we're doing the 29th. Do I have to move something or?
No,
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 Sorry, I don't want to. Okay, great. So we're gonna meeting 6 p.m. Great.
but I'll move to adjourn, Gail.
wait.
Okay,
can-
move to
Can you hold that
adjourn.
1 second? Can you hold that 1 second? I'm like Columbo. I have one more thing. Monday, the 15th, the town council will, I'm hoping, appoint a steering committee for the housing production plan. And there will be a member of the Affordable Housing Trust asked to serve on that. So I think you need to be thinking about who that will be, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair would be an excellent representative, I think.
Sure. I mean, if no one else wants to do it, I'll do it. we
Can I
talk
move
about-
to adjourn now, Steve?
Yeah,
Can we adjourn?
whatever you want. I'm sorry, Bill.
Oh,
So moved.
Wait a minute, Steve, I got a question. Does that mean I have to go to a meeting on the 15th?
No,
Okay,
no, that does not mean that.
okay, fine. I just
Although
want to
you're
make sure.
welcome.
Okay. Okay, so move to, do I have a second
second,
on adjournment?
second from
Okay.
Sarah. Yeah, good.
The meeting, I feel like I have to gavel something. The meeting is.
All in favor?
All in favor.
Favor.
All in favor? Aye, 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 aye.
All right. Yeah, you guys
Thank
gotta help
you.
me out with this stuff.
Nice job,
Nice job,
Gail.
Gail.
All right.
Good job.
Good job, Gail.
Not
Gail.
easy.
All right. Thanks very much.
All right.